Hey everyone, it's Rachel from Sugar Maple Farmhouse, and today we're going to make blueberry Danish with homemade puff pastry. Blueberry Danish is probably something you've had out at a restaurant before, but I promise it's so simple to make at home, and it's even more delicious when you make your own homemade puff pastry from scratch. Puff pastry is layers of buttery, flaky, beautiful pastry, and I know that can sound intimidating, but I promise it's really simple. Let's get started. To start, we're going to make the puff pastry. So you just want to add 1 cup of flour, and some salt to a bowl. Put it all in there. And then I'm going to whisk those two things together just to make sure that they're combined really well. Next, you're going to add the key ingredient, which is butter. Butter is what makes this flaky pastry layers that everybody loves so much in puff pastry. And I'm going to use this pastry cutter to mash the butter into the flour and salt mixture. The temperature of the butter is important. You want it to be as cold as possible because that's what helps create the layers in the steamy oven. The goal is to get your butter about pea-sized. If you don't have a pastry cutter, you can do this by using your hands and cutting up the butter before you mash it into the flour and the salt with a fork. Once you have your butter pea-sized, you can go ahead and stick it in the refrigerator for about an hour. Once the hour is passed, you're going to go ahead and add the last ingredient, which is ice cold water. I like to fill up a measuring cup with water and then add a couple ice cubes to make sure it's as cold as possible. The temperature of your ingredients is really important for puff pastry because, again, it's that coldness that when it hits the steam of the oven that makes these beautiful flaky layers. With your hands, you're going to go ahead and create a hole in the middle of your mixture. Then you're going to add your water right to that little spot. You're going to loosely mix all that together with your hands before turning it out onto a cutting board or a surface that you can roll it out on. Once the dough is well combined, go ahead and dump it out onto a well-floured surface. It'll be a little piecey, but that's okay. You're going to go over it with the rolling pin a lot of times and it's going to all come together. Make sure you flour your rolling pin really well too. The dough gets pretty sticky and you don't want it to all stick together. To create those beautiful layers, you're going to fold the dough in on itself, and then you're going to go ahead and roll it with the rolling pin again. You're going to do this about 6, 7, maybe 8 times, depending on how strong you are, until the dough is nicely formed. This is what the butter is going to look like as you roll, and this is what's going to help create those beautiful flaky layers as the cold butter hits the hot oven and melts. Once your dough is nice and smooth, you're going to wrap it in parchment paper and stick it in the refrigerator for an hour. While the pastry dough cools in the fridge, we're going to go ahead and make the filling for the Danish. So I'm going to combine some cream cheese with an egg yolk, some sugar, and a little vanilla and lemon juice. And then we're going to mix it all together. Once the filling's done, you can go ahead and put it in the refrigerator until the pastry dough is done chilling. When an hour is up, go ahead and take your puff pastry out of the fridge and roll it out for the last time. You're gonna wanna roll your dough out to about 1/4 inch thick. You're gonna roll vertically and you're gonna roll horizontally now. While you're rolling, you don't want to shake your dough too much with your hands here because you could smush down your layers and that'll impact the final outcome of the pastry. Using a pizza cutter, go ahead and cut squares from your dough. You're going to get about 6 to 8 squares depending on how big you make them. Once you have your squares cut, you're going to go ahead and put them on a parchment-lined cookie sheet. Don't worry if you don't have perfect squares. Remember, you don't want to shape the dough too much, and in the end, it's not going to impact how they taste at all. Next, using a spoon, you're going to go ahead and place some filling in the center of each pastry dough square. Now that you've added your filling, you're going to go ahead and top each square with a couple of blueberries. Before I put the Danish in the oven, I'm going to do a quick egg wash just to help the puff pastry brown a little better. Once your egg wash has been added, go ahead and put these in the oven at 400 degrees for 15 to 18 minutes. While the Danish cooks, I'm going to go ahead and make a quick glaze for the top of it. I'm just going to combine 1 cup of powdered sugar and a little milk and whisk it with a fork. After they've cooled, you're going to go ahead and add your glaze to the top of your Blueberry Danish. Thank you guys so much for watching today. I'll put a link in the description so you can grab the full printable recipe for these Blueberry Danishes. And if you enjoyed this video, please remember to subscribe to our channel so you can follow along with everything we're doing here at Sugar Maple Farmhouse.